I will begin with a greetings, Happy New Year to all. In the midst of this pandemic, we from the University of San Agustin would like to begin our new year on a positive note by highlighting our blessings as an institution of higher learning. As a university, we have a commitment not only to propagate and generate new knowledge through studies, research, and other investigative work, but also to make sure that we are promoting activities that are relevant and timely, that are geared towards the fulfillment of our vision mission. And above all, we mention in our vision that we are promoting activities towards the promotion of authentic human and societal development. As an Augustinian community, we always pride ourselves that we are for the community and we are here to help build communities. We are happy to report that in the past months and years, we have been blessed with grants awarded by various private and government institutions. So we can pursue studies and activities that will promote the welfare of the members of our society, particularly in areas of health and medicinal product development, community building, promotion of indigenous culture, among others. And for this particular press conference, we'll be focusing on our work headed by Dr. Acevedo in the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Culture, and the work we have done together with Mr. Petrola in our ATI communities. This is of course made possible because of the presence of experts in the university who can conduct these activities and studies. And of course, with the able leadership of our Associate Vice President for Research and Global Relations, Dr. Jonel Saludes. And that's the reason that we are here, because of these experts, the people we have attracted to the university to work with us. So we thank them in advance and we congratulate them for this very noble and important work they have done for the promotion of our Hiligaynon culture and also to protect the interest of our indigenous communities in the region. So I would like to thank everyone for your presence here, and may we continuously work together as one so we can advance the common interest of our community members. So to all of you, good morning and welcome. Thank you.
uh, Miss Haya.
Okay, so sorry for that. Good morning once again. Thank you very much, Father President, for that welcome message. This time, we are going to have the presentations of our researchers from the University of San Agustin. And we will be starting with a presentation of the Director for Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures, or Chic, and that's Dr. Clement Acevedo. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Miss Haya. I will attempt to share screen. And the sound. All right. I hope you see the PowerPoint that a little bit of PowerPoint that I presented prepared for everybody this morning.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for the feedback. So good morning. This event is our press conference, externally funded projects of the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures. Today is January 15th. It's Friday, and we began at around 10 o'clock. My name is Clement Acevedo. I am the director for the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures, or Chic. I am also an associate professor at the Conservatory of Music at the University of San Agustin, Iloilo. So the Center for Heritage, the Chic, is an office in the University of San Agustin. This is our logo I would like to share with you. This is by Bayan text for the word mapanatili, meaning to keep uh, or to retain. So we should our heritage and culture. Our vision and goals. The vision of the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures is to serve as an excellent resource in the preservation and enrichment of Filipino cultural heritage and indigenous identity. And finally, Augustinian heritage and legacy through quality research, community engagement, and awareness programs. Our goals are to promote multidisciplinary research and training on Filipino heritage, culture, and indigenous peoples, and Augustinian heritage and legacy in the Philippines. To disseminate knowledge on the unique Filipino and Augustinian social and cultural heritage through conferences, workshops, and seminars, and to build linkages with local and global partners that support the preservation and enhancement of Filipino and Augustinian heritage and culture, and the protection and promotion of indigenous peoples' rights, interests, and well-being. So this is our project, the Hiligaynon Art Song Workshop. It's funded by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, NCCA, and in partnership, of course, with the University of San Agustin, in particular, the Office of Research and Global Relations. JFJC Music Institute, or shall we say, Jovita Fuentes and Jose Contreras Music Institute, is the powerhouse that implements Hiligaynon Art Song Workshop. This works under my office, the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures, in partnership with the Conservatory of Music. So I get um, manpower from the conservatory students and even my colleagues there who teach music. They help me. JFJC also in 2019 uh, with the Professorial Chair Award of the Office of Research and Global Relations, was able to have a 5-day workshop in music, master classes, performances, etc. This was in August 2019, and we were able to bring in amazing artists from the US, China, and Manila. Uh, Particularly Grammy Award winning baritone Kevin McMillan. So in essence, Hiligaynon Art Song Workshop is the second year of JFJC. So sharing with you right now is the poster that we sent out for call of submissions for submissions. Uh, we started technically September 1st because this is when we sent this out. And this is the list of winners we have. We have two major awards. We named it Jose Contreras Award and the Jovita Fuentes Award, and three smaller awards. Um, so everything was done online. Important to remember. Um, Perhaps 5% of it was done live. We had to record it live. Um, the purpose of Hiligaynon Art Song Workshop is to encourage Filipino composers to write songs using Hiligaynon, to promote it as a language that lends itself naturally to music, as well as to serve as an impetus to contribute to the growing Hiligaynon song literature. So we would like to have more Hiligaynon songs. We would like to hear more of those in the radio. So we were able to have 10 Filipino composers to participate. Um, and those 10 composers wrote 12 songs, which made it to the short list. There were others more, however, they were unfinished and some had problems with notation. So 12 songs, and it's a good number. 5 songs were awarded. We did it through Zoom and Facebook Live. Now, very quickly, I'd like to read to you a rundown of the activities that we did. So, first we had the call for submissions, and then they submitted, and then out of those, the participants attended a lecture online by Jude Balsamo, who I will talk about later. He's the resource person, and then they had breakout sessions to discuss their songs, each one of their songs, with the resource person. And then they were sent out for a few days to edit their songs, and they submitted again. And then our resource composer emailed them feedback. So this time, no more video conference, just email feedback with more details. And then they edited their songs again, and finally, their final submission. At that point, when we got their final submission, the performers that I called upon to learn, we started learning it, and we then recorded it in a matter of few days. The scores, the music or the notation, were edited one last time by yours truly and Mr. Argil Resurrection, because it is our goal to submit to NCCA a publication ready uh, document of the songs. And then we ended the project last January 10 with a presentation of the songs. It's been recorded, and I'm also planning to just post the songs individually also online. This is Jude Edgard Balsamo. He is a composer who was born in Cagayan de Oro, pianist, musical director, music administrator, etc. This is a screenshot of his lecture where he's discussing in detail an example of an art song in Filipino, in Tagalog. Uh, the participants, also a screenshot. This was the poster we put out for the presentation last January 10, featuring the works of our composers. This is a picture of us recording it, rehearsing and recording. And finally, the finished product, we edited the videos of all the songs. Uh, the we also interviewed the composers, especially the winning composers, during the awarding over Zoom, also Facebook Live, to give a little talk about their song for about a minute or a minute and a half. And just to show you what the editing looks like, this is the final editing of the song. So we do want it to be ready for publication. So uh, I did this myself. This was my specialty when I was studying for my doctorate. And and this is the result, something like this. Very professional, very accurate. Hiligaynon songs, and they're new. This is Kailong Pugad by Joshua Ansale. Words by Flavio Z. Canyo. So existing poetry. This is Handurao by Renan Flores, and words by Irene Angeli Rios, both from Iloilo City. And I decided to just put some of the statistics here in terms of Facebook, going on Facebook Live. We believe it has been successful, and many people we were able to reach out to many people, and at least have made awareness for, especially for composers, to be encouraged to write songs in Hiligaynon. So everything, of course, made possible by our sponsors, but most especially by the encouragement of the Office of Research and Global Relations. Uh, our Associate Vice President who leads this office is Dr. Junel Saludes, and also uh, Thank you to the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, NCCA, for the funding. And again, ORGR, the Professorial Chair Award, which started everything. This was in 2019. Like I said, we were able to come up with that 5-day workshop for music, all the singing and all the piano playing, and inviting all the amazing artists and experts in the field of art song. This is very much connected to the present Hiligaynon Art song. The University of San Agustin and the Augustinian Friars. Thank you especially to Father Frederick Comendador, our university president. Thank you to Yupanco Store, Yamaha, SM City, Iloilo for allowing us to record in their space. Now, maybe not the whole song, but I'd like to share with you one of the winning songs in the workshop. Hopefully this works. I already clicked share sound. Ambahanon sa Kagabihon. And that's the end of the first part, and also the end of my short presentation. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Acevedo, for that beautiful presentation and for sharing to us that very beautiful song. And before we proceed to our next speaker, I would like to acknowledge the GMA News TV joining us and Miss Mary Hope Torrechante from Radio Pilipinas, Iloilo. Okay, now we're going to listen to a brief overview of the project to be presented to us by Mr. John Paul J. Petrola, the Associate Member of the National Research Council of the Philippines, and at the same time, the Coordinator of the Villanova Institute for Social and Economics Research. Sir Petrola, take it away.
So good morning, friends from the media, also to Father Frederick Comendador, our president, Father Magin, our chaplain, also Dr. Janelle Saludes, our associate vice president for research and global relations, and of course to Dr. Clement Acevedo, the Director for Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures, also the PR Office. Uh, Good morning to everyone. So this is a project um, entitled Binalaybay sang ati mga istorya sang kabuhi sa tunga sang kalamidad kag COVID-19. This is sponsored by the Department of Science and Technology, National Research Council of the Philippines, with a implementation period from January 2021 to June 2022. So, um, so again, this is Binalaybay sang ati. So you have here the picture of the ati for the sake of course, privacy and censorship. We put the cover on the eyes of the ati people. So the rationale of the study, the overall goal of this study is, and our engagements in the ati community, is to help improve their socioeconomic well-being, their health condition, and the recognition of their cultural identities and way of life. So basically, this aim is to document the ati indigenous knowledge, practices, lived experiences during natural calamities and their responses to the impacts of COVID-19 outbreak and their communities through our Hiligaynon poetry known as Pinalaybay. So this is the ati people amidst climate change and COVID-19. This is, lies on the premise that despite the ati people being historical figures of Panay, the country's economic boom still left them marginalized and vulnerable to environmental and disaster risks brought by climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic. As you have seen, this is the picture of the ati men um, improving their fish pond in Lanit Haro, Iloilo City. So this is also a picture of an ati family in Lanit. This is a picture of a person building his house after the typhoon in Malayaklan. And this is the picture of baby RJ. He died during the lockdown because of congenital heart disease. So our direct engagement with ati community, basically the project hopes to become an avenue in giving the ati people the due recognition as full-fledged members of the society and the opportunity as significant contributors in nation building. So this will use the researcher introduced descriptive and literary analytical phenomenological approaches in social science and indigenous people studies, which is very unique in the country. The project will account the life stories authored by the ati people as poems written in their native languages are products of their indigenous knowledge that depicts their cultural identities and indigenous phenomenology. This is descriptive because through their writings, we were able to describe the social condition at the same time the life of ati people. Literary because instead of having it in a paragraph form, it will be in a literary format because they will be making their own poems. Analytical because of their study or their poems will be analyzed, and from that analysis we're going to make a paper which will be published in reference journals. And of course phenomenological because it talks about their experiences during calamities and of course COVID-19 outbreak. Also, as a method of this engagement, we will also be uh, having ethnography, of course, interview, as well as focus group discussion. But of course, because of the pandemic, we will also follow the health and safety protocol as advised by the local government. So the expected outputs of this project, Binalaybay sang ati, it will produce a book on ati people entitled Binalaybay sang ati, mga istorya sang kabuhi sa tunga sa kalamidad kay COVID-19. These are the literary analysis of the Binalaybay collected and on Ati people's indigenous knowledge and practices. Also, we will be submitting our analysis, their findings, and the results of this study to the local government and to create position paper to LGUs and Panay to advise local executives in crafting policies that may have direct benefits to Ati people, especially the women and children. So according to our children, the Ati children, please handle them with care. So the impact that, to the Ati community because of this project, there is a co-authorship and visibility of Ati community through a published book. Ensures participation of Ati women in IKSP process and right shops. Also, inclusion of IP's rights in the formulation of local policies. Likewise, there will be recognition of indigenous knowledge and practices that contribute to sustainable development and proper environmental management. And of course, the protection and preservation of Ati indigenous knowledge, practices, and language. So we selected why Binalaybay? Because for us, Binalaybay represents the culture or the rich culture of Hiligaynon. So Binalaybay is a form, for me, it's a form of expression of our feelings, our emotions, even our pains, even our struggles in life. So this is the reason why we have this idea of coming up with a new approach in documenting the indigenous knowledge and practices. So that is both to help the uplift the socioeconomic status of our Ati brothers and sisters, at the same time to contribute in the preservation and protection of our Binalaybay in Panay. So I'd like to thank the University of San Agustin, headed by Reverend Father Frederick Comendador, and of course the USA Friars, the Office of Research in Global Relations, the ORGR, the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures. The ORGR is headed by Dr. Janelle Saludes, the Associate Vice President for Research in Global Relations, and of course Dr. Clement Acevedo of Chic. Again, this is funded by the Department of Science and Technology, National Research Council of the Philippines, or the DOST and RCP, and of course with the help of the National Commission for Indigenous Peoples in the Visayas. I would like also to thank our partners in the community, the Ati community in Lanit Haro, Iloilo, headed by Mr. Rogelio Ilocendo, the MATA, or the Malaynon Ati Tribal Association Incorporated, headed by Mr. Ernesto Coching, the Ati community in Nabas, headed by Mr. Enrique Martinez, the Boracay Ati Tribal Organization, headed by Mr. David Tambuon, and of course the Boracay Ati community, headed by Mrs. Delsa Justo. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir JP, for that very rich sharing. Now we will be giving this time to our media friends to ask questions related to the projects presented by our by the director of the Chic and Mr. Petrola. But to our media friends, please stay after the press time, since there will be another presentation coming from the university chaplain, Father Rodel Mahin. So for you to ask questions, please mention your name, your media organization, and if possible, you can also say your designation. So we're opening the floor for questions. Okay, and we would like to acknowledge also Ms. Thessalonia Molo Ordales from DYSI Super Radio. Okay, our media friends, please feel free to throw your questions. Okay, Are there questions coming from GMA Regional TV? Oh, okay, Miss Lynn, she has okay, from Business Mirror, how much is the budget for the project? How will the IPs benefit economically? So maybe, sir, this is addressed to Sir Petrola. Thank you,
Thank you
Miss Lynn.
very much. Thank you very much for that question, Miss Lean Resurrection of Business Mirror. The fund for the implementation is just enough to make to ensure that the project will be successful. In terms of economics, shall we say, economically, um, the this project actually does not really provided an economic, a tangible economic benefit to the Ati community for now, because we are starting with this Binalay by project. However, as what I've said, the result of this findings or the findings of this study will be forwarded to the LGUs for policy making and for the crafting of their local policies that will help the Ati people. Um, Also, we are trying to, with that, of course, a suggestion to the local government. They will hopefully they will consider how to improve or to include the IP rights as well as the needs of the IPs in the formulation of their policies, such as in the delivery of basic services, also in the terms of livelihood, and especially in education. So for now, there is no direct impact in terms of economic for the Ati people, but we're hoping that through our uh, position paper and recommendations to our policy making body, especially the LGUs in Panay, later on it will lead to that economic benefits or economic impact to our IPs.
Thank you very much, Sir JP. I have here a question from Miss Mary Hope Torrechante of Radio Pilipinas, Iloilo. Number one, there are other indigenous groups in Panay. Why did you choose to focus on Ati? Are you planning to include Panay Bukidnon or other IPs as well in the future? The challenges faced by the Ati communities in Western Visayas and what are the proposed solutions? Maybe, sir, you can answer that, and then there are succeeding questions.
Yes, yes. All right. So why Ati? This is actually a first why I choose Ati is a has a personal impact on me, because there was one time that I had watched Dinagyag and I really enjoyed. But um, I was really looking at where is the true Ati? Where are they? People are, enjoying Dinagyang, but of course the Ati people are. I could not see Ati people in the streets. That was actually a few years ago. Um, that's one of the reasons why I asked myself, where are really the Ati people? And the second thing is there are very few literature about the Ati people in Panay. Of course, I will later on, as we progress in this project, we're just starting with the indigenous people in a study here in Western Visayas. Later on, we will also plan to include other IP groups in Panay. That's the reason why, for now, for a start, Ati people. That's actually the two reasons. One is a personal reason, and the number two is, of course, the very few literatures on Ati people in Panay.
Okay, thank you, Sir JP. There is another question. This is still from Miss Mary Hope. In my previous interview with an Ati leader in Antique, she admits that their Inati language is dying, and this is despite establishments of schools for living
Yeah.
traditions. Any comment on this, and how can we preserve this cultural identity?
We have seen that problem. That's why we are trying to build up this kind of literature, or shall we say this project, because we would like to preserve the Inati. They will be writing their own poems on the climate change, at the same time their experiences of COVID-19 in their own native languages. So it will be Inati, it may be Kinaraya, it may be in Hiligaynon, or in Akyanon. So these are this is our way of preserving the language of the Ati people. At the same time, to give, of course, additional literatures on the Ati people. So that is about our language. Because when we publish the book, of course, we are planning to give this also to the Department of Education. Actually, we are also tapping Department of Education as part of the project later on. So that's why uh, we are documenting this, because we understand that Inati is already dying, and we know that. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Miss Haya, may I
yes,
add,
sir. Sure,
supplement
sir.
what JP has provided as an answer. Jonel Saludes po from the Office of Research and Global Relations. That's a very good question from Miss
Torre
Tesoro.
Chante, sir.
Sorry, Chante, sorry. What we are documenting at the moment are actually written expressions of the Ati community. But actually, what we are missing in this project, of course, a project with a certain limitation to what we can do in a certain time frame. But what we are missing in here is a thorough documentation of the spoken literature. What will be read may not be the same as the way it will be spoken or sang. And if we lose a record of the spoken language, we may not be able to teach the future generations about the Ati spoken language at the moment. So that's one area that we also need to document and study and understand. In fact, I have had already Dr. Acevedo here. I have already had discussions with Dr. Acevedo about this matter. To record, document, and analyze uh, even the regular spoken language of the indigenous peoples community, as well as their music, their songs. Um, Even if we hear the songs, if they are recorded in the future, can a non-Ati or a non-indigenous person sing that in the same way as a native speaker of that language is? So that's something that's actually what Dr. Petrola is doing, is just, should I say, at the tip of the iceberg in how we can help curate, document, analyze our Ati community's heritage and culture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saludes. We have one question here for Dr. Acevedo. Where are our Hiligaynon songs now? Are they still thriving in the music industry?
Uh, Thank you for that question. Uh, are we speaking of the Hiligaynon song literature in general, at large? I just want to clarify that. Or are we speaking of the 12 songs that the workshop was able to produce?
Ms. Torrechante, please clarify in the chat box. Okay. While we're waiting, Dr. Acevedo, for her response, we'd like to entertain the question from Mr. Hector Cofreros. When will the project start, and when do you expect this to be accomplished or published? Maybe this is addressed to Sir Petrola.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that question. Um, of course, the implementation the duration of the project, we will start January 2021 and we will end by June 2022. So it's going to be 18 months. The publication of the book, we're expecting to have that by first quarter of 2022. Because the documentation here does not only speaks of one community, but we are also going to different communities around Panay Island. So that's why it has 1.5 year implementation period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Petrola. Dr. Acevedo, actually, she missed what you said, but I already clarified if it's at large, the Ilonggo songs at large or specific to your
I'll
project, correct?
I'll answer both na lang, actually.
Okay, sige. In general
Uh,
daw, sir.
in general, well, I don't think I'm an expert to say, but my opinion is I think it's scattered, but actually also uh, it's I think it's growing because of certain events like the Bombo Music Festival, this workshop, for example. At the same time, also the national agencies have been proactive in engaging non-Manila artists to come up with proposals. So NCCA, for example, has been uh, encouraging us to do our own research. As a matter of fact, one of my professors in UP said, "Stay there and do, you know, uh, discover your songs and discover your artists and composers," and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. But to answer the question that requires some research also, I think it's scattered, and however, I am very optimistic because, for example, there is I cannot remember the name of the group, but there's a pop group actually that records and performs songs in Hiligaynon. So it's very promising. I see this in Cebuanos, for example. They really play Cebuano songs in on the radio, and I would like to see that also in our own Hiligaynon community.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Acevedo. I believe we have a question coming from GMA Regional TV. Sir, please ask.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry.
Okay, Attorney Cabaluna.
Yes, and to my professors and colleagues, fellow Augustinians, Happy New Year. I'd like to ask JP, no, kasi um, in the few informal engagement we've had with the ATI community, to be honest, no, because we're trying to at that time also to feature their culture, their traditions, their literature. The what manifested was they have little to none because primarily of their history that they're nomadic, no, so they don't settle and they're not able to create these things, no, they're more focused on day-to-day living and they transfer, no. This is a few engagement we had, but I'd like to ask, no, in terms of your honest assessment, are you confident that you will be able to gather such literature that is true to its traditions, no? Hindi siya created because kung pilitin naman sila, may magagawa naman sila. But I guess something that's really anchored on their past and heritage, but does not really embellish, no, the ati community that has something like that when it might be limited. Yun nga, I hope that there's a sector or a community that you already see na meron talaga. There are signs na meron talaga. But so far, when we went to Boracay, it's quite limited, no? When some communities also in San Enrique, no, it's a bit limited. They don't really have this literature, to be honest, no? So how confident are you that we'll be able to gather and compile, because it's important if it does exist, that we'll be able to chronicle this, no? So that's just something that we like ibangga namin sa thesis statement nyo na meron kayong makukuha vis-a-vis what we have witnessed also in past engagements with them. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Attorney Cabaluna, for that very good observation. Actually, I started my engagement with Ati community in 2017. In 2016, actually, I started with the Manobo, Dulangan Manobo in Sultan Kudarat. Well, I had my first project there with Silliman University as part of my thesis. The very difficult thing that you can get from the IP is trust. They don't give trust to anybody unless they really know you. That's why ethnography is very important. Um, with the Ati community here, what was I have established in Mindanao. The Ati community here since 2017 with my engagement, we already had so many engagements also. Well, actually, this project is not just a product of my imagination, rather, it is also a product of their suggestion. So they need it. They need it because I will not push this one if the community doesn't have given me that support of this project. So I actually heard them still in their narratives, no, their oral traditions in Inati, but I could not really understand it. And then I'm trying to ask that elder. I told him, what are you talking? So according to them, this is their oral narrative. So I told them, okay, and that's very old. The lady is very old already. So you can speak in a thing. Yeah, yes, of course, we're Ati, right? But how come that you cannot speak with us? You cannot talk because, of course, we Ilonggo, we talk Hiligaynon, no? We even people in Tagalog, we speak. So sabi niya, the reason why we don't speak with you and in our own language because you will not understand us. So I said, is that tradition is memorized by the narrative memorized by the future by the young generation? They said no, they forget about it already. So if these literatures that we had with the Ati community will just die naturally if we don't document them. So first, the idea came from them, especially those with my engagement with Nabas, with those in Malay Aklan community, specifically in Sitio Clara. Um, Also with, of course, the Lanit Haro community here, we have also engagement with them. So they have these literatures, only that they don't have somebody that they trust probably to document it for them. So we will help them. We will help them. And of course, we assure that the product of this project will be entirely by the Ati community. The poems, the poetry, the narratives that will be written will be of the Ati community, of the Ati people.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank you,
much,
attorney.
Sir Petrola, and thank you, Attorney Sedfrica Baluna. If there are other questions, maybe you can put that in the chat and you can ask later. We will have our last presentation coming from Father Rodel Mahin in relation to the event that we will be having tomorrow. So, Father Rodel.
Um, Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Father.
Yes. In line with our celebration of the Nagyang 2021 here in Iloilo, the University of San Agustin Community, in cooperation with the Cofradía del Santo Niño de Cebu, USA Iloilo Chapter, will be conducting a virtual symposium on the 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines on January 16, 2021, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. via our USA Iloilo FB page. There will be two researches. The first is on the area of history. Father Zar Emmanuel Alvarez, OSA, Coordinator for Foreign Languages, will present his research on Santo Niño de Cebu and the 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines. Specifically, Father Zar will discuss on the historical background on the arrival of the image of the child Jesus to the Philippines. He is actually talking here of the year 1521, when the image was given as a gift to our ancestors after they received the sacrament of baptism. That was the beginning of the initial evangelization of the Philippines. There was a gap for 44 years because only in 1565, after the image of the Holy Child was rediscovered, began the systematic evangelization of the Philippines. Today, the devotion to the Santo Niño has spread all over the Philippines. Various images under distinct titles and with different names are venerated in countless towns, cities, and provinces. Here in Iloilo, our Dinagyang Festival is an expression of Ilonggo's devotion to Señor Santo Niño. The second research is on the area of spirituality to be presented by Father Rodel Mahin OSA, the University Chaplain of the University of San Agustin. Father Rodel will discuss on the theme Devotion to Santo Niño in Time of Pandemic. In his talk, Father Rodel will emphasize that the pandemic has affected not only our personal life, but also the global community. It affects all aspects of our lives: healthcare, politics, mental health, social life, spiritual, etc. etc. So, our usual devotional practices in honor of Santo Niño, usually held inside the church, can now be made possible also through digital mode. Majority of the events, both secular and religious, for the Nagyang Festival will be held via online. For the devotees of Santo Niño, it only means that we have to content ourselves for now with online participation in the religious activities which promote devotion to the child Jesus. But then again, as Father Rodeldo stressed in his talk, this outward expression of our devotion to the child Jesus will have no meaning at all should we not anchor ourselves to the Word of God. Jesus, as the Santo Niño, would accentuate that to follow him is to be like little children who possess the virtue of humility. To be a devotee of the Holy Child means to be a lover of humility. We might not express our external devotional practices as we used in the past, but we can practice humility all the time with or without COVID 19. So, again, dear friends, our media partners, on January 16, 2021, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., join us online through the USA Iloilo FB page, the 500 Years of Christianity in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Rodel. And before we close this press conference, I would like to call for the last questions. Um, Attorney Cabaluna, do you still have questions? How about the USA publications, Radio Pilipinas Iloilo, Business Mirror, Panay News, and DYSI Super Radio? Okay, shall I wait for a minute to give you time? Okay. How about our representatives from the University of San Agustin? Mr. Shagire, do you have a question? How about the USA publications? Okay, I see none. So we will be, okay, there is one more question. From Miss Lin, why is the OST and RCP involved in an arts project?
May I answer that, Miss?
Sure, Sir
Yeah.
Jadel.
Thank you very much, Miss Lynn. That's an excellent question because for many who may not be familiar, many people perceive the OST as only an S&T or science and technology research grant giving body of the government. However, this project is funded through the NRCP or the National Research Council of the Philippines, which is very unique, a unique unit under DOST. It is actually a collegial body of researchers in the country. To qualify for funding from NRCP, you have to be an elected member. That means you have demonstrated a track record of ability to conduct research. And sorry, I'm long-winded. But as I've said, NRCP is unique because it is made up of 13 divisions covering a wide body of, say, a wide body of knowledge, not only in science and technology. When it's science and technology, it could be natural science, health science, or engineering. But what's unique with NRCP is it has two divisions that cover uh, uh, the division for social sciences, where the heritage and cultural studies that Mr. Petrola has presented, but it also has the division on humanities, where in the future, perhaps Dr. Acevedo's line of expertise in music and the arts fall into. So I encourage our friends from the press to visit the website of NRCP, and you will find there the 13 divisions. And I hope I could remember it on top of my head, but I couldn't. Um, uh, but that's where the two arts that Dr. Mam Lin has mentioned, the study in arts fall into. Mr. Petrola's study falls under the division of social sciences, which encompasses a broad field of studies from indigenous cultures to, in fact, some music studies are in there, and arts appreciation, visual arts are also be found in there, in the division of humanities. There's a lot of social science research done by NRCP, and for everybody's information, the executive director of NRCP is a social scientist herself. Dr. Marieta Sumagaysay is a social scientist with expertise in gender and women's studies. And I hope that answers the question of Ma'am Lin. nrcp.gov.ph, I suppose, is the correct website, but I may be mistaken. You can just Google NRCP Philippines for that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saludes, for answering the question from our friends in Business Mirror. Okay, now we've come to the last part of our virtual press conference. It's going to be closing remarks coming from the Associate Vice President for the Office of Research and Global Relations, Dr. Janelle P. Saludes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Haya. And I'd like to begin my closing remarks by giving our utmost appreciation to our friends in the media. As an academic-based researcher, and as a university that generates new knowledge, our friends in the media are crucial partners in making the public know what the university is doing, um, aside from its one role, that is to educate our community. That's under instruction services of the university. The university, as a university, does not only provide instruction, it has three roles: to provide instruction, to provide extension services to the community that it serves, as well as to conduct research. These are what we call as the three legs of the academic stool. And if one leg is missing, that university is not uh, um, uh, performing what it is expected to do. And this is possible at the University of San Agustin because the current president, Father Frederick Comendador, sees these three legs of the stool to be co-equals. During his administration, we have seen a dramatic transformation in the research competence of the university. And because of this vision of the president, 4 new research centers were created under his administration. This is unprecedented in the more than 1 century of the existence of the university. And it is you are our media friends and partners that we seek help to be our voice to the public. Please let the public know that the university, in partnership with government and private agencies, are performing research not because we need those for publications alone. The products of research should be cascaded to the community that we serve. We don't do this for the sake of doing research activities as academics. We do this with a bigger or lofty goal in mind, and that is the products of our research should benefit the community that we serve, should benefit the Filipino people. It is not all the time that a research product is earth-shaking. Sometimes they are incremental, just like what Mr. Petrola said. This is just the first step in our major engagements with the IP community. We may not transform the IP community overnight by providing them a direct right away a direct economic assistance, but it's through the products of our engagement with the IP community and through the partnership with the LGU, where these communities belong to. The findings may help craft policies that could have long-term impact to those communities. Further, you may have noticed that Dr. Acevedo's work on the NCCA funded project did not produce, hundreds of songs right away. I mean, this is the first step in building that long lost love for the local music, or the Gen Z, the Gen Z members of our community may have a different perspective already on what music that we of the older generations love to hear in the morning and in the evening. Their preferences have changed. Our younger generation may prefer listening to K-pop than listening to our cultural music. And it is this kind of steps that may be transformative in the future. And it is because of the research centers that are built by the current administration to contribute to the community, to the Filipino community as a whole. And in the long term, perhaps we can break grounds at the international level. I've been talking about 4 research centers, and many of you may not be familiar about this. So I'd like to give you a briefing, just briefly, and tell our friends in the public what these 4 research centers are that made the University of San Agustin a major mover as an emerging research university in the countryside. So I'm going to project just one slide. Bear with me on this. Just 1 second, and I'll share to you a slide as a briefer for this. Can everybody see my slides? My slide now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please allow me to briefly introduce everybody on what these research centers are. And these research centers are operating under the auspices of the Office of Research and Global Relations. And I'd like to start with Chic because that's the focus of the press conference this morning. Chic, as was mentioned by Dr. Acevedo, focuses on these goals. Dr. Acevedo is very uh, bashful by not telling about his background. Dr. Acevedo is a concert pianist. He plays solo concert at PIC, at the CCP, and has earned his Bachelor's of Music degree from UP Diliman, a winner of NAMSIA. That's Dr. Acevedo. Again, the definition escaped my memory. National Music Competition for young artists, and he's a winner when he was younger. He earned his master's degree in music from Temple University and music pedagogy at Westchester University, and his Doctor of Musical Arts from James Madison University in Virginia. As was mentioned by Father President, Father Comendador, it is through these centers that we're able to attract highly competent academics and researchers and accomplished persons to join the university recently. Dr. Acevedo, after earning his degree, his DMA degree, joined the university in 2018, and which is very timely when the Board of Trustees of the university created the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures. Not with us here is the director of the Center for Informatics, Dr. Romulo De Castro, a Balik scientist, and he is the director of the Center for Informatics of the university, whose vision and mission is to conduct data research and applications focusing on health, climate, environment, and governance. Very timely indeed when after the creation of CFI in the late 2019 and early 2020, the pandemic was declared the pandemic on COVID-19 was declared, and which has impacted the lives of every single human being in this world. CFI is now conducting a comprehensive research on COVID-19 that's become very useful for LGUs in different parts of the country in making informed decision for COVID-19 management. Dr. De Castro, another expert that was attracted to the university through the efforts of the administration, earned his degree from University of Texas and had postdoctoral training at the National Institutes of Health in Washington, D.C., with emphasis in genetics and health informatics. Very competent person indeed. We also have the two research centers, the first two research centers that were established by the administration of Father Comendador. C2B2, the Center for Chemical Biology and Biotechnology, with focus on biodiversity and biotechnology research, established in 2017, headed by Dr. Dora Linda Lisay as the director, whose work has made breakthroughs in profiling the potential sources for marine bacteria that could become source of antibiotics and anti-cancer drugs. Also, her project on that aspect was also funded by the National Research Council of the Philippines. Also established together with that, with C2B2, was the Center for Natural Drug Discovery and Development, established in 2017, and is the DOST Tuklas Luna Center in Western Visayas. Tuklas Luna Center is a program of DOST through the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, whose goal is to bring forward drugs. Let me just say the word natural drugs, medicines that will come from natural resources, either plants, from terrestrial sources, or organisms from marine sources. Since the University of San Agustin's expertise includes marine natural resources, the CND3 aims to bring drug leads, medicine leads for both that will serve as both antibiotics as well as potential anti-cancer agents. There are social media accounts for all the four centers and a website for the Center for Informatics. And I'd encourage our friends and partners in the media to visit these social media and web pages to see what these research centers have done to contribute to the Filipino community for either social science, humanities, and health research that shall bring forth products for the benefit of the Filipinos. One last message regarding the research centers is that the C2B2 and CND3 were both involved in the establishment of the COVID-19 test centers in Western Visayas at the height of the lockdown, when there was no testing center for COVID-19 in Western Visayas, and while the WVMC testing center was being developed independently, medical technologists and doctors from the different hospitals in Western Visayas, including WVSU Medical Center, the Medical City, Qualimed, Metro Iloilo, and Corazon Locsin Montelibano Memorial Regional Hospital, these frontliner personnel were trained on molecular biology techniques using the expertise and instruments for PCR and molecular biology at the C2B2 and CND3. Although that's not the main goals of the two research centers, we could assist directly the citizens of Region 6 of Western Visayas in whatever need, as long as the expertise is found in the two centers. So now the citizens of Western Visayas are provided with PCR testing through the assistance of C2B2 and CND3. And of course, that's not an independent training. It's done in partnership with our local experts as well, from PGC Visayas in UPV, as well as our biosafety officers from WVSU and Philippine Science High School, Western Visayas campus. So having said that, I'm going to exit my screen. I'll stop sharing. I would like to thank once again our media partners, and on behalf of Father Frederick Comendador, University President, and the friar administrators, and of course the Center for Heritage and Indigenous Cultures, Dr. Acevedo, and Mr. JP Petrola, we are very thankful for this opportunity to share with you what we have started. This is just the start. There will be more partnerships with you in the future as the university progresses with its research discoveries, and I hope you will always be there to assist us in letting the community know that a university is not just for instruction. Universities are, at the University of San Agustin, is a generator of new knowledge in the service of the Filipino people. Thank you very much and good morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saludes. And before we exit this Zoom meeting, may I invite everyone to turn on their cameras. We will have our photo opportunity. Okay. I'll be counting. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, one more. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And to those who will be needing the recording, please let me know in the chat box together with your email address. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Ms. Haya.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Hayat.
very much, our friends from the
Thank you
press.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.